Meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
And Kish is present. We'll start with the March 8th meeting minutes from the regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7:05 p.m. by Lynch, pledge to the flag, roll call, Abraham, Lynch, Euring, and Kish were present. Also in attendance, K. Smarsh, G. Lynch, L. Ashley, R. Bechter, D. Young, W. Smith, A. Bauer, K. Bauer, J. Watson, C. Neihart, and J. Wilhelm. 3-122, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Euring, to approve the February 22nd, 2022 meeting minutes as read. All ayes. Trustee Lynch made an adjustment to the agenda to accommodate Chief Wilhelm and audience members. Chief Wilhelm received an email correspondence from the Turnpike regarding accident pay scales based on the FEMA schedule, allowing us to collect dollars back from fire and EMS services provided to Turnpike accidents within the Amherst and Amherst Township areas. The prior schedule was signed by former chief, and no one was aware of this program. Chief Wilhelm already filled out the required paperwork for the last accident that was in Amherst Township on the Turnpike, and he did receive a check for the amount of $619. The Amherst Fire Department will continue this practice on the Turnpike and also on roadways where accidents occur, and sending paperwork to the insurance company of non-residents of Amherst and Amherst Township. Trustee Lynch asked for a copy of the correspondence, and Chief Wilhelm will supply the township with a copy. Chief Wilhelm also brought up smoke detectors in the prior discussions with not being able to provide them to the residents. He has come up with an idea with support from the local community and private sector funds to create a fire prevention fund that would supply the smoke detectors at no cost to Amherst Township residents. Trustee Lynch noted that packets contain information regarding the fire and EMS calls for 2020 and 2021, as well as a copy of the emergency services contract between the City of Amherst and Amherst Township, Ohio. 3-2-22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, for the Fire and EMS First Responder Service Agreement with the City of Amherst for all unincorporated area. Roll call, all ayes. Under audience concerns, J. Watson, West Powell Road, discussed stormwater drainage issues causing flooding issues. Trustee Abraham contacted the county, and they have told him they will not do anything because it sits 30 feet off the road. W. Smith also gave a brief history of his property and the work that has been done in the past by the county. D. Young also noted the woods across the street from the property has been cleared, causing the flooding to be worse. Trustee Lynch asked each of the attendees to send pictures and videos that they have and to individually fill out complaint forms or fill out together and all sign. Superintendent Smarsh will follow up tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the site. 3-3-22, a motion by Euring, seconded by Abraham, moved to approve the bills and financial reports with reservations. All ayes. Fiscal Officer Kish also noted that we received the additional $1,202.92 of American Rescue Plan Act funds. Trustee Lynch gave a short overview of the ARPA funds and the final rule using the standard allowance. 3-4-22, motion by Lynch, seconded by Euring, election to use the standard allowance and its presumption of revenue loss due to the public health emergency as authorized by the Department of Treasury, final rule regarding the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund and the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund established under the American Rescue Plan Act. All ayes. Under correspondence, Trustee Lynch noted that April 26, 2022 will be the bid opening for the Dewey Road project from Park Avenue North to North Ridge Road resurfacing. Under reports, zoning, one permit for the month so far, and no new houses yet this year. Under fire, Trustee Lynch noted that packets contain information regarding siren-based traffic preempters. Under road, park, and cemetery, Road Superintendent Smarsh reported that everything is status quo. Trustee Lynch noted that we did not get the ODOT Township Stimulus Award for the Oberlin Road sanitary sewer extension and road resurfacing. He noted packets contained correspondence regarding discussions with Bob Klaber and Commissioner Moore, instead of using bonds to pay for that sewer, to use ARPA funds, then to use a portion of TIF dollars to pave a portion of Oberlin Road. The trustees approved a resolution at the last meeting regarding general rules and regulations setting standards for street developments, but since then have received some new information that needed to be adjusted. 3-5-22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, Adoption of general rules and regulations setting standards and requirements for engineer standards for street development in Amherst Township and rescinding all previous resolutions regarding street development. All ayes. Trustee Lynch noted packets contained a request from Amherst Youth Soccer Association wanting to construct a storage shed for their equipment. Trustee Abraham will be contacting them. Township Administrator. Trustee Lynch noted packets contained information put together by Administrator Ashley for the LED lighting conversion in the Township Hall office and Sheriff's substation. The dollars for this will come from the 2002 grant agreement, the NOPEC Green Ribbon Grant, and the Otarma Moore Grant. 3622, motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Fluorescent to LED lighting conversion in Township Hall office and Sheriff's substation. All ayes. Under Phase 2 permit, received correspondence from Matt Arnold noting that materials from street sweeping and basin cleanout would need to be disposed of in the dumpsters unless we get permission from the EPA to spread the spoils in our yard waste area. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individuals. Matt Arnold and Jessica Hozalski were to walk the Batten House ditch today for further information for our next round of funding. The next regularly scheduled meeting is here tonight, March 22nd, 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 3722, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham, to adjourn at 8:58 p.m. Roll call was all ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the March 8th meeting minutes?
I have
If not, can I have a motion to approve then as read?
So move. Second.
Urick,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Okay, then your packets contained the February 22 credit card account transaction detail.
I'll make a motion that the credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and the card statement is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. To bring it to the floor.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this?
I have none.
Okay, and roll call, Chris?
Lynch,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Urick.
Yes.
Then you also have the payment listing, which is pretty boilerplate for this part of the month. And I have our year-to-date revenue is $500,827, and our expenditures are $236,229.11, which reflects the receipt of the first half real estate tax, and that totaled $390,348.82.
Okay, so what we see under revenue for the month is primarily the property tax.
Absolutely.
Breathe a little easier.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, are there any questions on any of the bills in the payment listing or the financial reports? Any additional questions? Can I have a motion then to pay the bills and approve the financial reports with reservation?
So move. Second.
Gehrig,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. Anything else there, Chris?
Well, we do have the appropriations.
Yep. Well, before we get to that, because there's two things in the order, because I didn't change the order on the agenda. I left the American Rescue Plan Act planning there. And today there is going to be an item, if you get in your packet, that we just received yesterday. It came by way of the Lorraine County Township Association. Mark Cunningham, the secretary for the association, sent it out from the Lorraine County Commissioners. Now, it's only signed by Commissioner Moore, so at this point in time, I don't know that the commissioners at the board have made any decision on this. I'm not saying they haven't, I just don't know. What we received was just this two-page document. Commissioner Moore has been attending all of the Lorraine County Township Association meetings, and as he indicates here, he's hearing from people, hey, what's the county doing, expending the money, the ARPA funds, what's their plan, how they're going to use it. And so they sent out this form for the townships to put down the projects that they feel, they still have to meet the eligibility requirements of the ARPA. The county, because of the amount of funds they received, and I believe, is that in excess of 60 million, Chris?
Yeah.
So they cannot use the standard allowance. They could, but then they're going to be restricted on the amount. So they're actually going to have to meet the other eligibility requirements. And the key ones that are big dollar ones and impact the townships are going to be the stormwater being the largest one for eligibility, and then it's between the sanitary and water usage. So what I did, if you look in your packet, I've attached to this, and Kevin, this will impact you since it's roads. Everyone's aware we had applied for the one-time ODOT stimulus grant that was specifically targeted for roads, sidewalks, culverts, that sort of thing. Don't know why, but we were not approved on our application, but no township in Lorraine County was approved. I don't know how many actually applied, but I know Bob Kleiber indicated he had provided cost estimates to multiple townships, and he was disappointed. I know Steve Shepard at the local ODOT district thought our project was real good and had a good chance, but obviously it didn't rise to the top. But I've made this proposal first to Bob Kleiber, and then I've had discussions with Commissioner Moore. I have not spoken with Commissioner Hung and Commissioner Lundy about this yet, suggesting after we did not receive this and were disappointed, we said all along our plan was if we didn't receive this grant, our next round, which I believe is round 37 for OPWC, this would be the project we'd apply for, but that would mean, assuming we're approved, we actually wouldn't be in construction at the soonest until 2023. And that road, we know, it's one because it was put off knowing that the county wanted to extend sewers along Overland Road. We didn't want to resurface a road and then have it torn up with sewers. Then subsequent to that, I know the county had put in a request, they wanted to open cut the road to put the laterals in, which they did because it's much lower cost than putting individual bores all along there for each one. That would have really driven the cost up. But no matter how much you compact things, you still get some settling, which means, again, you get that bumpy ride going along there. But when we didn't receive this grant, the proposal was first trying to find out from Bob Kleiber, since they've extended the sewers from Hampshire Farms to K Drive. They've also, I'm not sure on that tip how much pays for the infrastructure within the development, but the county's plan is to extend the sewer from Hampshire Farms along Overland Road to the State Route 2 overpass. They were planning on funding that with tax incremental financing based on the revenue generated by the new development in Hampshire Farms. What this proposal is wait a minute, you've got these ARPA funds, one of the specific items that is listed as eligible as sanitary sewers. And I realized when the county would put this plan on, because this plan even started with the previous Board of Commissioners, they didn't have the ARPA funds. So the ask is, use your ARPA funds to pay for the sanitary sewers. You have no debt on it yet. I don't know about the other sanitary sewers. They probably already have notes in anticipation of bonds from the TIF, because they had to pay off those contractors somewhere. So that, in my opinion, probably is considered a debt and not eligible for ARPA funding. But the section going from Hampshire Farms to the Route 2 overpass hasn't even been bid out yet. And I just received today, it shows it coming from K. McCartney and Associates, but that was at the direction of Bob Kleiber, I reminded him I still needed that cost, and $247,900, the initial estimate, so say roughly $250,000. The estimate we had for the road resurfacing, now realize this is going to be old, and prior to all this inflation occurring, was $191,500. So again, we're probably talking around $200,000, since that's going to be not only general inflation, but a petroleum base. So you're talking $200,000 road resurfacing, $250,000 sanitary sewers, and not really wanting to leverage as many funds coming to Lorraine County as possible. The ask is use the ARPA funds to pay for the sewers versus the TIF funds. Then use the TIF funds, only the portion we would think we would need as a match, to then leverage OPWC funds. We're not asking for the whole road paving. Technically, if your road is damaged because of the installation of sewers, you can use ARPA funds for that section, but realize that probably wouldn't be the whole resurfacing. That would just be within the section where the construction is. And we're not suggesting that. What we'd like is take some of those TIF dollars now to pay for the road. And I've since then, you don't have a copy here, Commissioner Moore did request their legal firm that I worked on the TIF to give their opinion, and then when I contacted Commissioner Moore to see the next step, he suggested I then work with the county prosecutor's office, because he said that's where he's really going to use it as guide, even though he has this opinion from the law firm that did the TIF. And I just received today from Assistant Prosecutor Dan Petticourt, he agrees with Ulmer and Burns that yes, the ARPA funds can be used for that sewer, and the TIF funds could be used for the road resurfacing. Now, I didn't discuss details with Commissioner Moore and Assistant Prosecutor Petticourt as far as the amounts, because I'm going to be looking to Bob Kleiber to give us some direction on there in our grant submission. But that's the intent, so that we can submit a project that scores very well, and we can have reasonable assurance it's going to pass in the scoring when District 9 determines which projects get funded and which projects don't. So again, you'd have to make sure there's enough money going in there so you're not giving a big ask for OPWC funds and brings your scoring up. But at the same time, I think it'll bring the cost down for everybody. And if the county, and we'll have that discussion with them, if they want to determine the portion that was impacted because of the sewers, they can even use, if they don't want to use the TIF dollars, they can use the ARPA dollars. Obviously, I would prefer that. I'm sure Amherst School District would prefer that, but that's a decision that the Board of Commissioners would make, and I don't really want to be fighting them on that, since, we're also asking them for help, on another matter. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, but also for the trustees and Kevin, and I'll have discussion with Linda, and if you see her, you can too. We want to look at all the projects based on this communication that we received yesterday from Commissioner Moore, and he's got this form to fill out, so we should take projects. Just keep in mind, they have to be eligible, meet the eligibility requirement for the ARPA funds, and I've sent that out to people in the past. If you go to the OTA's website, they've got a page dedicated to ARPA that's real good. It also gives you the links if you want to go directly to the U.S. Treasury, if you want to go to the Ohio Office of Budget Management, if you want to go to state auditors, but most of the information that's right there on the OTA's website is the real key information that you need. But again, for us, it's going to be stormwater that we've got, roads impacted by sanitary sewers or stormwater runoff, and potential of water, though in those we'd be partnering with others because we don't have that. Our infrastructure is stormwater system. Kevin, I know you've worked on, we've got that mini grant going right now. That may be one, and that's up to the county. That is definitely eligible for ARPA funds versus using stormwater district funds. And the county may want to do that now if they're willing to put the funds to it so that they can leverage more projects going out. but we need to come up with that list. So that's why this is in here. I'm going to keep working on the one for Overland Road to get that done. I'll keep everybody appraised as necessary as to where it stands, but you understand what the focus is, okay? I don't know if you guys have any questions on that or not, but
No, I
I
don't.
think you've seen all the emails, other than the one from Dan Petticourt. I'm probably not going to send it out. Basically, he says he agrees with Omer and Burns. Okay, Chris, you want to go over the 2022 permanent appropriations for our annual budget?
Well, you have it in your packets, and it was put together over the weekend and then corrected and put back together over the weekend. I just need signatures.
I don't know, you guys have it in front of you. I mean, the total is, 1.73 million is what we got for the appropriations here. And I'll go ahead and make the motion to bring it to the floor. You have a second?
I'll have a second.
Okay. Are there any questions on this? I mean, it's not a whole lot different from our temporary budget,
Correct.
which we've already passed. Okay, hearing none then, Chris, you want to do roll call?
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Burek?
Yes.
And the number on that,
That is
Chris?
31122.
Okay, we have no audience, so we'll go into correspondence. Chris?
I have, first one I have is from Consumer Builder Supply, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we'll probably be getting a lot of these notices that they are going to be raising their fuel charge to $35 per load based on the cost of gasoline. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that I'm sure it's not the first, or I mean, it's not the last. It's the first, but if you want a copy of that, I don't know. Then we got our invoice from the Lorraine County Community Alliance for $150. And I just wanted to make sure that was okay to go ahead and process. And I don't know, am I the member or?
Well, I'm the appointed representative just for
Okay.
voting, but we all would be members and eligible to attend.
Okay.
So are they asking for something specific?
Well, they did give the membership information, join or renew, so I'm just going to put down that
The
it's
township?
full
Amherst?
members and that you're the contact person. But good?
Yeah, I'm the representative, so it's not often they have a vote, but if they've got a voting issue. And the next item they have coming up is the annual road discussion, which will go between the ODOT within ODOT's district and our county specifically, and then the county road projects. Those are the big items they usually cover.
The last thing that I had is from the Township Association, it's membership renewal. So I have the application for everybody to fill out, whoever was a member, an active member and/or associate member. I need these filled out and back to me so I can send it in. So I know I have Neil's, past David's and Denny's down. Were you a member? I think Linda was as well, was she not? And Remy?
That way they'll at least get all the documentation.
Get it back to me so that I can send that in. There's one for him. Oh, and there's one for Linda. Gotcha. And that's all I have.
Okay, David, correspondence?
I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Denny?
Nothing.
Okay, the only item I have that isn't really part of the agenda was we did receive a request from Lorraine County Community Development Department for brownfield projects. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of time to get an answer. This came in on St. Patrick's Day at 1:57 p.m., and they needed a response by the next day, 10 o'clock a.m. And this was that was the same night as the Lorraine County Township Association, and Rob Duncan, the director of Lorraine County Community Development, was there, and he reminded people, and he apologized for the short notice, but he wanted any of the brownfields that we had because they were having discussions with the county administration on this. So I asked Rob Duncan, I want to make sure, hey, we don't have time to discuss this with property owners or even among ourselves. There's no time for a meeting. He said, the reality is, give what you think are the best two projects in your area. David happened to be at the Lorraine County Township Association meeting, so I'd asked him for his ideas. I talked with Linda, I believe, and that was probably it. And the reality is, I just went with my gut with the first two that were there, and that is the old Marathon Station on the southwest corner of State Route 113 and State Route 58. And then also we have that, which is officially listed as an auto service, but it's also semi-trailer storage and other assorted junk. Has the entryway on Middle Ridge, but most of the visibility is from State Route 58. And I have no idea if anything's dumped there, you know, in terms of oils and solvents and whatnot.
Thank you.
That'll make it a brownfield. But what they're really looking at is items that can, they know could potentially have an issue. They want to know if it had a phase 1 or phase 2 study done, and those, if you read them, you'll see the difference on these. The phase 2 is the one that actually is the most specific and intrusive and give you the most information. Well, I'm assuming not, but there wasn't time to give that information. Estimated cost, that's tough too, but I gave photos, I gave the parcel numbers, the location. I actually got this sent off. By the time I was done, it was a few minutes after 10 o'clock, but darn close, because I also had a 9:30 a.m. or 9 o'clock a.m. meeting with Matt Arnold and Don Romankak on stormwater. And by the time that was done, it was 9:35, so I had from 9:35 to 10 o'clock to get something off of these guys. Well, I'm glad I did, because right after I sent it, Rob Duncan called, wanting to know where our response was. I told him I had just sent it, and the time we were on the phone, it showed up on his email. And Reese Dutton confirmed he had it. So I don't know if you guys had other areas in our township that would be consideration. Because I don't know if this, I imagine this will come up again.
The only other place that I had brought up and you mentioned in the email was the former Amherst Metal Products building and possibility of contamination with both machine oil and foundry sand.
Right. Yeah, and I know there was one, but I didn't have time to research. We had the study done for the rezoning here. There were some potential underground tanks and contaminated soil west of 58, but that was based on past public records, and I think one of the trustees at the time said there might have been an old service station there at one time, but we had, I'm going to forget, I better not mention, I forget the name of the engineering firm that had done that work for us, but Mary Survey was working with the engineering firm at the time. I remember her, and she's now with Team Neo, but they had identified some areas there to be aware of. But again, I didn't have time to go back and look through those records and provide that information. But thanks, David. I don't know, Denny, if you're aware of some that stand out there. But we don't really have what I consider abandoned properties. They're all up to date on taxes, being paid. I mean, we've got multiple areas that if they were repurposed for something else, I'm sure anybody that's doing their due diligence in any property transfer is going to require a minimum of a phase 2 study on them. But we'll see where it goes. Okay.
Is it necessary for us to keep this?
Not really, Denny, and I did send that to you electronically too. Okay, we'll move on to reports, and I guess we'll just skip down right to zoning at this point in time, Remy.
Just 2 permits for the month so far. House is still standing at 0. Everything is just going along pretty good.
Okay, did you want to mention we have on, let's see, it's April 5th, the next zoning commission meeting. There's a public hearing on a zoning amendment,
Correct.
and that's for a change from light industrial, from
No,
Yeah.
from
agricultural to light industrial.
agricultural to light industrial, thin strip of land that is abutting Route 2.
Okay,
And
that's April
the
5th.
remainder of the land is
April
already
5th.
light industrial, so they want to just bring it into the rest of the land.
and that's because there is a gentleman that wants to put up one of those digital signs.
Digital
similar to the one
billboards.
that's over in Sheffield Village.
That's correct.
Okay, and then there's also going to be, it's my understanding it's somewhat informal, but for the sandstone development, they're going to be presenting plans and looking for support where they just want to put in the road, that's Blind Road, starting from Overland Road, heading to the west.
58.
And the way I scale, heading towards 58, and the way I scale that out, it's about 3,600 feet.
Correct.
So they'll be
You
given a
wanna discussing
presentation.
that,
That'll be an
yeah.
actual design review.
Okay.
on April 5th?
Yes, on
On
April
April
5th.
April 5th, yes.
And that will follow the public hearing on the zoning amendment.
That is correct.
Okay.
The amendment first and then that. And that would be Bramball Engineering will be here for that.
So Bram Hall Engineering will be here. I assume will there be anyone else then representing Sandstone?
No, I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
Because they're just putting in the road and a slight jog to the left to where the proposed clubhouse is going to be. Because the clubhouse is going to be the first thing they want to build, but they're not actually doing a design review for the clubhouse as of yet. Just the road going there.
Okay, the road and then all the utilities, so
Correct.
you've got a copy. I don't know if, Kevin, if you've seen it yet, but, you'll want as-built in case there's any changes, but they've got all the stormwater in there. They've got the, showing the sanitary in there, the water lines in there.
Fire hydrants, width of the road.
But you know how things change once they actually get in there, so what you're really going to want is the as-built prints. But one thing I know, when the zoning commission was discussing this at their meeting, I think it was Jim Conrad, he thought most of the water was going to the east. That's not the case. They've actually got, if you follow their prints, you'll see they're directing some to the east, but then it routes back around. They're taking all the storm water, realize it goes to their detention basins too, but when it
Oh, yeah.
finally releases, it all releases to the west into the east branch of the Beaver Creek, which I think is really better since the flooding we've had is more on the eastern half in the Batten House. Think about it, if they took it to the east, all it'd do is follow the Batten House, and we'll see that shortly, in a long path to eventually get to the east branch of Beaver Creek. So this way, they're taking it right to the east branch of Beaver Creek.
Yeah, more direct route.
Yeah, and the way that land sets on its topography, it right now has part goes to the east and part goes to the west. But since they're doing underground, it'll all end up eventually going to the west, the way they have it. So, and we'll get to that later, and that's where, Remy, I think you said you've got county engineers going to get a copy of all the stormwater calculation, the detention basins, because in the settlement agreement, we want to make sure that they've got a higher capacity than the minimum required for holding the stormwater and a slower release rate.
Correct. As per the agreement.
Okay.
I do believe that they should have that copy there by tomorrow, is what I'm expecting. I'm going to double check with Bramball tomorrow to see if that is the case.
And our county architect's got his, and
He's got his,
everyone on the zoning commissions picked theirs up.
I couldn't tell you that if they did or not, but it sure was made available to them.
Okay. Yeah,
I had
well,
11 copies total, I think I got 6 left.
Well, as long as the architect and engineer look at the details, I think Colin might look at the details.
Colin got
you know.
one.
Yeah, having a technical background, being involved in civil type work, he might be interested in that because it's
Right.
something he's familiar with.
He could follow it, yeah. I got a copy for Kevin if he'd like.
Okay, now, is this the activity on 58? You were talking about going back to the clubhouse?
No,
What was
the
that?
activity on 58, what are you referring to?
For that proposed sandstone development, there's been land clearing and a drive put in?
Oh, that's just, they are actually deforesting. They're clearing the woods out. That's probably something to do with the Amish and
Oh, okay.
whoever they have, that's gonna be taking the wood out of there.
There's gonna be some logging going on.
Logging.
Okay, anything else for Remy? All right, just a quick note under fire is, I just want to let everyone know, I heard back from Amherst Mayor Costello. We'll be passing an additional fire service agreement. It'll actually go to his council, the final one, to full council on Monday. But some questions came up there, and it was one thing, it was just in their editing. I just assume it was taken out for administrative convenience for them, but the mayor explained how they've actually gotten their contracts with their personnel, and to try and encourage to get the fire guys out that after 11 o'clock. In the past, we always had where they're paid double time for the first hour and then regular time after that, but typically it's usually an hour would cover it, because they needed something to encourage people to come out there. And that's not a high occurrence. I didn't go through the percentage of how many we have after 11 o'clock. What I can tell you is you tend not to get a large number of personnel showing up after 11 o'clock. And so he realized and he explained how in their editing that got knocked out of there, but the one that council's going to see is, we'll have it back in. He sent me a copy late this afternoon. He said, he wanted to know when our next meeting was, and I started laughing, it's tonight. I said, but we won't get it done tonight. So we'll have that at April 12th meeting, but there's still time because our agreement, the current agreement, goes through May 31st. So all it's doing is putting that same clause back in there. I did not even open the agreement that he had forwarded to me to read the actual verbiage, but it's pretty much going to be the same as the last one. So that'll be at our April meeting.
April 12th is our first meeting.
Yes, April 12th. So that'll be, let's see, we've got, and then yes, because then April 26th will be the bid opening for Dewey Road. Okay, roads, parks, and cemetery, Superintendent Smarsh.
For starters, I have for the cemetery, I started stocking up on materials for the grant that we were awarded for the leveling of the stones and straightening out those. But for roads, we've been on potholes, spring cleaning, a bunch of ditch cleanup, and there was an email that came in about 6605 Rosedale. Resident was looking for a little bit of an explanation on some work she had done and wondered if we had, okay. I spoke with her, and I told her that I would be able to drop in tomorrow morning. I have a couple of other residents that I'm going to meet with. They have water issues. But I told her that, I don't have any, right on anything, but I think there might be some storm drain in the back of her yard that is possibly, that she did not know about. And, I mean, it might not even be workable. I don't know. I just told her I would take a look at it, go from there after tomorrow. There was another water complaint on Deepwood. And this resident had been going round and round with, as she said, with the county. County's actually the ones that called me because she was in touch with them. It's also a rear yard complaint.
Where's this at?
Well, it would be kitty corner from your old house on Deepwood, like right across the road from the end of Foxtail. She says the neighbor has, she said that the neighbor had the township put in a tile in his backyard, and now her water doesn't get to it, but you know, she's misunderstanding a whole bunch of what's going on there. Because I told her, I said, I know the county didn't
You're
put...
talking on the north side of Deepwood, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You know, I've looked on all prints, I don't...
You've got the ridge in back of that.
Correct. She's just kind of a little misunderstanding is what she's got going on.
The only tile I know there is the crossover. There's the catch basins and then tile
Correct.
crosses the road there, connected to. I'm trying to think where that goes.
I'm gonna take a look at it tomorrow morning after Rosedale. Just misunderstanding.
You say it's in the backyard?
Yeah, it happens every year, every spring, every March. There's water. The ground is saturated. Guys called me, was wondering if I could chew up the ball field, you know, if I had a minute to chew up the ball field. I said, it's March. You can't even walk on that field. But everybody gets the amp, you know, you get a couple nice days, and everybody that's got a squishy yard, they got a storm sewer problem, you know, it happens every year. So at any rate.
Coming out of the ground.
Okay, anything else, Kevin?
No, we're gold.
All right, we do have, I put this under roads, is received communication from ODOT for the next winter salt contract. Kevin, I already talked with him, and he agreed 400 tons is what he wants on this contract also. So this is a resolution authorizing participation in ODOT winter salt contract 018-23 awarded in 2022 as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code section 5513.01. I'll make the motion to bring it to the floor.
I'll second it.
This is for the salt contract, right?
Yes, this is a salt agreement, and then, you know,
Okay, well, my concern would be, or it should be brought up right now, the availability of the salt to get it when we need it, in a reasonable amount of time. Were we ever able to get the salt that we needed?
Yeah,
Gonna get our salt?
We're topped off now.
But there for a while, we couldn't get salt. No one could get salt from, was it Cargill?
Yes.
We weren't the only ones. You know, my
Nope.
question is, okay, we're gonna sign on to the state, get the state price, which is great, but if we can't get the salt, what good is it?
so what's your proposal?
Well,
You got an alternative?
well, my question would be, bringing up now, I don't have anything better or worse, it's just something to bring up right now. Think about, how much are we saving on the contract? You know, should we look at another provider? Seriously.
So you want to bid out separately without, you want a second bid? You want to cut this down, and then what do we do if one's higher than the other? Do we just say no, and Why would we go through that? I'm confused here.
It's availability, you know, we get a good price, but can't get the salt. It's
Okay,
the
how many
question.
salt mines are there? Between here and, let's say, from New York to Chicago.
I know of only one.
So where's the alternative source of salt that's going to make the availability better? I'm just
Are we
trying to
getting it from
understand
the salt mine in
logic.
Cleveland? That's what I'm asking. Let me ask you that, Neil. Is that where that's
Well,
coming
you
from?
just told me
Sorry.
there's only one.
Yeah.
I think there's actually two, but you just said there's only one. So if we go with only one and there's only one.
Is that where our salt's coming from? Is that where the salt's coming from, Neil? A lot of questions I don't know. I'm just concerned, and
Okay.
I think rightfully so, and I think you should be also about the availability. I'm upset because no one could get the salt. When we needed salt, we couldn't get it. It wasn't the worst winter, but there was a time when we needed salt, and all of a sudden, there was no salt because no one could get a load of salt.
You know,
It
one
wasn't
thing,
just us, it was other entities as well, and, you know, my question is, how good is this? I mean, yeah, we can go ahead and do this again for another year for want of not having anything better, but at least think about it. It's one thing to, or at least question it. That's it, you know. I know what you're saying. Do I have an alternative? Do I have something laid out already? No. But just question it because of the availability. This is, you know, one thing we got to think about. Think about in the future then. For one, nothing better, yeah, I'll go on with it, but it's one thing to think about is there's something that's more reliable out there. And then we have to balance that. Think about that. If you continue on, if we're stocked up and we're ready to go, that's fine. But if we get in a pinch, we don't know when we'll get salt.
one
you understand what I'm
alternative
saying? Do you
is, one
understand what I'm saying?
alternative is we could pick it up ourselves, but that's, you know, that costs even more. Right now, with what we have here, which is our contract, we're golden there, is there would be enough room that right out the gate, as soon as it was awarded, it could be all hauled in. Now, once you go through that, if you go through your whole contract, which has not happened since I've been here, you know, then you might find yourself in a pickle trying to find some salt as well. The alternative, you know, I never had a problem with Compass Minimal. Within the week, it was there every single time ever since 17. We've been with Compass Mineral. Now, I think it was possibly a trucking issue, you know, trying to find the trucks, trying to get the trucks. So that was
thanks.
always what was told to me.
Well, Kevin, you just gave a specific alternative. That's what I'm looking for. Now, I'll give some other alternatives, David, but I'm not proposing any of them. What's one thing that people do if they're concerned with the availability of inventory? What's the standard fallback most people do? Oh my gosh, the supplier may not be able to deliver in time, like semiconductors for vehicles. What do? They hold, or there's going to be, I may have a labor shortage because of contract negotiation, people go on strike. What's the number one fallback business usually uses?
They build up their inventory.
They build up inventory. How would we build up inventory?
We have to get a bigger salt shed.
Need a bigger salt shed or a second salt shed? You're proposing a second salt shed. My point is, there's another alternative that
That's
you
a
could
possibility.
use. What's another alternative? Geez, supplies are scarce. What happens? Typical economics, supply and demand. Demand's more than supply, what happens?
The price goes up.
Price goes up. If you're willing to pay more than waiting, you can get salt. You'll pay a lot more. But that, you know, that's all nice discussion to have. I mean, I wish you would have mentioned any one of those three alternatives, and I'm sure there's more, but our point is, this is a good deal. We don't have to bid it. We don't have to spend the time bidding it. We get into a larger contract. I remember some people that didn't participate, communities, and the salt price went up and they were paying through the roof, and guess what? We had that nice low price. So, unless you're willing to do the effort and go through with another bid or do something, or give me a reasonable proposal, I mean, to me, we've got to make a decision. We're either going to participate or we're not. And if we're not, you are going to be the one to do the work to get the alternative salt. But I suspect Denny's going to vote for this as I am. Okay? So, there's a motion and a second on the floor, and just before we go on, Kevin, if it might be more difficult for Chris, but between you and Linda, when we're done, and we'll have to sign one of these, everything has to be electronic and uploaded. I think this is probably the third year they've done it this way. So I'll sign one out of the extra. I forgot to print a separate contract. I'll sign one out of the extra package since there's no, I think we all three sign.
Yes,
Yes, all the trustees sign.
it's ready to go. I just need to scan the signature and it's ready to go.
Okay, so you want us to sign yours then?
Whichever one you sign, I just need to scan it and upload it is what I mean.
If you take care of it then, as long as you let Kevin and Linda
They
know
know.
so that we know it's done and
Yep.
ready to go. Okay, is there any other discussion? All right, roll call then, Chris?
Lynch,
Yes?
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring.
Yes.
And the number?
Is 312.
But I think the point I want to make is something to question. We'll see how this year goes.
Just remember, don't bring a problem without a solution, or several proposed solutions so we can evaluate them, David. Anybody can scream about problems and concerns. But what we need is people that take action, get something done. If you sense the frustration, there's a lot of frustration because there's been a heck of a lot of hours put in on getting things prepared for tonight and a lot of work. Okay, parks, I just want to mention, and Denny, this is for you, more for a reminder, is you've got in your packet for the Amherst Youth Soccer, we just need both a new agreement signed and meeting with them as far as their, whether we can or can't accommodate them as far as a storage location.
Right.
And the agreement spells it out. As long as we agree to where the location is, it becomes township property, though they would be the ones that would be using it to store their equipment. Okay, I have no report in terms of Lorco. In the Phase 2 stormwater, we do have before us a resolution for authorization of application for financial assistance from the Lorraine County Stormwater District for what I'm titling the 2022 Batten House Ditch Restoration Project. And you may ask what's included in this project? Well, it's still to be determined for a couple of reasons. Right now, what I received from Matt Arnold after he walked the ditch, and Georgianne, can you point to that 2025 stretch starting from Norfolk Southern Railroad? Okay, you see where the pointer is? Wiggle it a little bit, Georgianne. That is where the Norfolk Southern Lakeshore rail line is. There's no railroad running there anymore. It's the old rail line, and that's where the culvert goes under the tracks. I don't have on there, but the Batten House ditch continues across Overland Roads, the north-south thing. Georgianne, can you move to the east a little bit? And then go over Stang Road, it crosses over Stang and comes south. There you go, and that section's already been cleared. We did that previously. But you see in the heavy blue line, we've got some there to the east, about 2,000 feet. And then to the west, we've got over 4,000 feet of ditch that needs attention. When we met back in January, I went out to those locations with Pete Zawick from the County Engineer's Office and Don Romankak, who heads Lorraine County Stormwater District. Now, we only went to the areas where a property owner allowed us on their property, and also any place we could see from the road right-of-way. Now, there's property up there that's owned by the county and also property by the township. So we went to those areas. It was a very cold, snowy day. We walked on some of the ditch area where the ice was thick enough, but property owner that was walking with us, who happened to be a little bigger than we were and heavier, actually stepped through it. So it wasn't what I'd call real safe ice. But what you're going to see soon, I'm going to show you some of the pictures, just in that 2,000-foot section that Matt Arnold has provided from the Stormwater District, and Matt actually walked as much as he could. When he went out there a few weeks ago, it was the same thing. You get the bad weather and it's mushy out there anyway. As Kevin pointed out, this time of year, all the soils are mushy. So he couldn't get through all the sections, but for that first 2,000 feet, 2,025 feet, he's given an estimate of roughly just under $89,000 for that. But the reality is, when I was out there looking at it, we've got some areas where some earth has come down from the county section and actually caved into the ditch, which blocked it. Now, the ditch has since then found its own path by eroding away the embankment and kind of going around that, but it makes a real quick turn. So I sent an email off to Matt. I received the final information Friday, late Friday. By the time I was able to get back, they were gone. So I sent an email to say, hey, Matt, we really need to get all the way over. When I did the drive around with Pete and Don, we were talking about getting all the way over to the east branch of Beaver Creek. And Pete had proposed, if we had to split it from where Georgianne's pointing now at the east branch of the Beaver Creek. Can you move to the west now to where the Conrail Railroad is? That's the second, this is the active railroad. And yeah, she's pointing to that railroad now. Pete said we could do that section, and then the section from Conrail to the Norfolk Southern Lakeshore Railway. So the short section there from Conrail, that's 1,225 feet. Then on where Matt showed the 225, if you really went from the Conrail Railroad to Norfolk Southern, you're talking about 2,675 feet. So the question is, hey, we'd really like to get that whole section done if we can. And Matt said he'd have discussions with Don Romankek. Now, subsequent to that, we received that communication from Commissioner Moore. So I don't know if that's been discussed with Lorraine County Stormwater District, which the Board of Commissioners oversees that also. But I think this would be a great application because this definitely meets the ARP eligibility. This would give the county the opportunity to do more projects. They only budget $400,000 right now, which are the funds the Stormwater District receives directly from all the property owners in the unincorporated area. Realize those property owners include all public entities, like we pay a fee. I think ours is about $850 a year or something. It's pretty high. All the schools, all the churches, so there's nobody exempt from this. We all pay into this. But now they may be able to leverage additional funds with the ARPA. Georgianne, can you go through some of the other prints just so people see what's really in that ditch? Because a picture will tell you a lot, and this will show you what needs to be done. Okay, let's first just show this. This is the section Matt was proposing, what's in blue. What you see in yellow, that's what we did. What's in blue was what he was proposing, just getting up the middle ridge. Okay, if you can go to the next photo. And this is what he saw in the section he could see. This is where the Norfolk Southern Lakeshore Railway goes over. And you see right there in front of the pipes, look at that log jam. And that's actually been cleared in the past, but you know, as that water gets up and debris gets into it, it falls down and it gets to wherever a choke point is, the choke point's right at those pipes, and you just built up a nice big dam there. Okay, you want to go to the next photo. This is getting to the other side. Okay, go to the next one, because it gives a better log jam. That one wasn't so bad with the brush catching. Here you see the debris going all the way across the ditch, and you see the ditch gets to both sides. You see the brush that overhangs that snags any junk coming down there. So this one, you not only get all the twigs and the branches, you get plenty of leaves get caught in there. All right, go to the next couple, Georgianne. We can look at these log jams. Go to the next one. This is what our ditch has. The parts you can't see, you look what we have from the roads right now, what we can reach are pretty clear. Look at this. They don't show there's a beaver dam in here also, but we don't have that one. Go to the next one, please. Okay. These are all at different points, 6 different points along that ditch with different jams. The problem is we need to get the okay from property owners to get the easements across here so we can get equipment in there, get this stuff out of here. We're talking about, in this grant, removing all these log jams. Here's a property owner. This is, Kevin, you had told us to meet with Dave Moore, different Dave Moore, not the Commissioner Dave Moore. This Dave Moore lives up on Middle Ridge, on the south side of Middle Ridge, right across from Eddystone. This is just photo from his backyard. He's already filled in a good portion that was getting flooded so that it doesn't come up more on his yard, but it still floods in. You can see that there's trees and they're underwater. But you can see he's got log jams here that are further to the west, but there's also log jams to the east that are probably helping him by keeping the water from coming down even faster. But if you go to the next one, and these the trustees have seen before, go one more. That shows some stuff floating down. Go to the next one. There you go. This is what we've been aware of, and we haven't had flooding like this in a while. This is at the intersection of Stang and Oberlin Road. Now, we actually had, this last February, we had flooding over Stang Road that, to my knowledge, Kevin, is the first time since we've done the work that's been there. But it didn't last long. But it did go down and left some debris there and whatnot. And plows have since taken it off the road. But this is the area where we actually had the one person that drowned in there when their car, slid off the road and went off. And if you go one more, this will be the last one. This is the other area it would flood over on Stang Road. But again, we've been pretty fortunate, but if we don't get this cleared, this is all going to be happening again. So the grant, what we're proposing is that we're not reprofiling the ditch. As Pete Zawick went through in our meeting in January, he said when you look at the cost, the lowest cost is removing the log jams, assuming you have access. Next higher cost is when you got to take down trees and brush along it. But the highest cost is when you have to reprofile that ditch and you have to remove those spoils. And the EPA now, to comply, we have to take those spoils elsewhere. We can't be like the old days, you spread them up, further away from the banks of the ditch. So the question was, this grant is due March 31st, end of this month, 9 days from today. And you have to have authorizing resolution, which, unless we schedule a special meeting, means we have to have that resolution tonight. And with everything else that's banking up, and I couldn't put this on Linda and Kevin because exactly what I was concerned about happened. Even though we started back in November of 2021 pushing this, had our first actual formal meeting January 6th of 2022, I never got even the bare minimum information needed until just last Friday. And so all this weekend was working on putting a grant together, and how do you put in the weasel words to make it general enough to cover this area? So what I've actually wrote here that this would be the 20, I didn't put in phases or anything like that. We know we've been biting this off a little piece at a time each year because there's only so much money available. I called it the 2022 Batten House Ditch Restoration, and I said the section from Middle Ridge to the Norfolk Southern Lakeshore Railway at the intersection of Oberlin and Stang. So I'm actually counting the Middle Ridge crossing at, if you point to the east branch of the Beaver Creek again, over here. So from this point, and then go all the way to the east to the Norfolk Southern Railway. So that's, if you go all the way over, this is a full approximately 4,000 feet of ditch. Now, Matt was good. He got back to me because I said, Matt, what would be the cost for that? He said, well, it depends, but he thinks it'd be at least double. Well, if it's double, we're talking close to $190,000. There's no way with $400,000 being allocated by the Stormwater District, they're going to approve a grant request from Amherst Township for almost half of that. But this is one, I think, with what Commissioner Moore put out, and again, these same commissioners also are the board of the Stormwater District. We should lobby that this is an eligible expense. Instead of doing this over several years, and to me, after you look at these pictures, to me this is critical. And we've got, though I didn't see the log jam, but there's a portion there, what is called the Doylick property. They got it posted, no trespassing. I did not go on that property. And the way the ditch goes around, you can't always see it with good visibility. But I definitely know there was a slide in from the embankment that created an earthen obstruction in there that should be cleared out. But I think that section will be less costly than the section of the east because a good portion along the southern part of Middle Ridge is county-owned property. It's in the right-of-way. I think it's wide enough to get the equipment across there. You might not be taking trucks in there. You might have to use track hose, depending upon the time of year. But between the property the township has and the county has, I think they have much better access. So there's a portion there that is owned by Tom Estruth and the Doylick Preserve. Those would be the ones where I'm not being able to walk in there. I'm not sure what the access is, and we would need some easement signed by them to get in there. But I think this is one we ask the commissioners to consider leveraging the Stormwater District funds with the ARPA funds so that we can get that whole section from the east branch of Beaver Creek up to the Norfolk Southern Lakeshore rail line cleared out. And if they're willing to go further, we would then go the next section. You go further to the east there, Georgianne, coming off of, from what's termed go further to the east where the blue line is. The additional 2,000 feet, we might get that, which goes over and across this Stang Road. Yeah, that section, over more there, that section. But that's going to require more discussion with the stormwater district. No, not that one, that's done. The blue section, there you go. And then you remember the gentleman that bought that property, that's right across the street from the township, and that's where you see the red as the rest of the Batten House. You know, who knows what's back there till you get back in there. But I suspect it's going to be similar to what we've seen in these other photos. And Kevin, you know what was cleared out of the section we did on the Engle. And the Engle doesn't get nearly the amount of water coming through as the Batten House does. You know, that Batten House drains all the way from the airport. And to make this where, to me, it's even more critical, the commissioners, though they did it through a petition process, for what they call the Batten House Lateral Number 2, after a petition filed by residents in New Russia Township that were upset with all the water coming off of Lorain County Airport and flooding them, they're paying for that 100% with stormwater funds, 100%. And all they did was turn a petition. You know, so yet we're contributing township funds all along here, taking this little piece at a time. You know, because sometimes they say, well, is that all we need to do is put in a petition and you'll pay 100%? So we'll have to talk with them, but just so you're aware, the I tried to write the grant so it's general, to cover from the East Branch of Beaver Creek up the Norfolk Southern Lakeshore Railway. And I know you guys didn't have a whole lot of time to read this. I sent it out Sunday night, so you could see it. The only thing that's been added since then were those photos from the property owner up there, David Moore, because he had taken some photos, he was trying to get them to us, he was just having some difficulty downloading them from his phone. He had quite a few photos, but to me, most of them were just going at different points with flooding, and those two were enough. There was no need to show multiple flooding areas along his property. So what we're talking about here is, in terms of different property owners, 7. We'd actually only have 7 property owners we would need easements from. Now there's more than 7 parcels, but of those 7, one of them's Amherst Township Board of Trustees, one's Lorraine County, another one's Ohio Edison. I don't see them giving us a problem. So, and another one, the Harper family, they had given us an easement before in a different section, so I don't see a difficulty there. Mr. Moore, who has a problem, I'm sure he'll sign. So we really have to get, I'm not sure who to get a hold of in the Doylick Trust, and then also Tom Estrup. So those are probably the 2 key to start with, because I think the others will be fairly easy to receive. It may take a while reaching Ohio Edison, but I don't see a problem with them either. Okay? And all we're asking for is the easement so that we can get in there and do the work, and then the ongoing maintenance, which is usually, at least once a year, coming through, mowing it, inspecting it, determining if more log jams have gotten in there. But once you got the easement access and know where to get in, it'll be a lot easier clearing things out. So anyway, I'm going to make this resolution authorization of application for financial assistance for Lorraine County Stormwater District for the 2022 Batten House Ditch Restoration Project, and that the Amherst Township Road Superintendent Kevin Smarsh and the trustee responsible for stormwater management, Neil Lynch, are authorized to request financial assistance from Lorraine County Stormwater District for the 2022 Batten House Ditch Restoration Project at a total, now right now the total estimated cost is $88,891. Grant funding is $71,185 is what I'm requesting, and the township to make 20% cash contribution. But realize all this discussion we've just had, this can change. So I hope you understand that. But that's the proposal right now, that we provide 20% based on what this is. So we're talking here, roughly $17,000, $18,000 in township funds. And then that the township, Amherst Township chairperson or the trustee assigned responsibility for stormwater management or the township road superintendent is authorized to sign the attached application for Lorraine County Stormwater District financial assistance documentation and any other documentation required by Lorraine County Stormwater District, and the rest is boilerplate. So I hope you guys understand there's got to be some flexibility here, but we've got a March 31st deadline staring at us.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, are there any other conversation or questions? If not, then roll call, Chris.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
And the number on that, Chris?
31323. I'm sorry, 22.
What was it?
31322.
Okay, and if I can have a certified copy of that then tonight, of the resolution, I'll try and get that signed and scanned and sent off. That they've got it set and waiting. Okay, we'll move on to the complaints. You know, the first one is, that's still on hold. Now, that's another stormwater thing. This is the complaint down there by the Molnar Outdoor business and the business across the street. We know that's an ODOT thing in terms of the tile. David's been involved in that, but this is one we may want to give to him. I don't know how the county will address that, because you're working with ODOT. We know that's one that would require quite a bit of negotiation between ODOT and whoever wants to take that on. But the next complaint, Denny, and this is for you. You've got all the detail as far as all the photos that have been turned in on the Pile South Amherst issue, but the only thing I included in the board's packet was the email that Linda sent out, which includes, you know, you'd have to look at your email for the attachment. I wasn't going to print those again. But when I searched on this, I found an older email, which I copied for you. And this was an email from September 16th of 2020 from Pete Zawick. And if you guys still have it, you can look through your old email. I can forward this to you. But this was at 8275 Pile South Amherst. So this would be on the east side of the road, right across from the same area where the flooding's occurred. And that person was complaining to the county about flooding, and you can see Pete's response there. The real key was that the county engineering crew jetted the roadside drain on both sides of the road and repaired the roadside tile blowout in 2018. So there was a blowout then that they had repaired previous. They also, this was the individual that filed a complaint, this Justice driveway culvert was jetted out in 2017, all under routine maintenance. So he put, to improve roadside drainage system, his recommendation was removing all the roadside ditch tile enclosures and opening it up to daylight. So what he was recommending, Pete did over a year and a half ago, was dig up the ditch, take out the covered tile completely, that's plugging. Now, I don't know that that helps these residents, but keep in mind, this is on the east side, directly across, which is where they said the water's coming from, flooding across the road, coming in their property. You know, in some ways, if you clear that, this will help. You basically create a big catch area, catch the water before it comes down, and then drain it away. That'll alleviate some of it. I know they've got some others. So I wanted you to have that, Denny. If you want, I can forward you that email, because you see that listing of all those photos, but basically it was just showing this is Justice property all flooded over real bad. But this really isn't the first complaint. The county had a complaint from there before, and Pete had sent over a recommendation of what could be done along the county road. But maybe the resident doesn't want that, because, you know, then you got trouble mowing your lawns, and, you know, and you create an open ditch. You know, there's good and bad news about an open ditch. We've discussed that before, you know, but it seems most people want to tile it over and have a nice flat area. I just want you to have that, Denny, as you're working with those residents.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, and David, this is for you. I received this email, and this was concerning, I guess, because this is the second email we had, but the first one, it appeared that we did have all the information, our recycling tonnage entered into retrack, but I was surprised when I received this email that said Amherst Township did not, so I don't know if they just missed us. Is that information entered now?
I put the information into retrack. Our information is
Okay,
in there.
good.
I have one number to put in the fourth quarter, and then I'll submit that quarter. I'll submit that then.
Oh, so
So it's not.
it's not done.
It's not 100% done. The numbers are in, but it's not submitted yet, so
When you have it done, can you just reply to Tom Patrick's email, but also copy us so we know it's done?
Yeah, okay.
Because as you're aware, and I'm sure you were very embarrassed at the Lorraine County
Yes,
Township
yes.
Association. They named every township that didn't have it done because it's holding up the grants for everybody. And I was really embarrassed because I can understand these smaller townships, but we're one of the largest ones. We're the only large township that didn't get ours done. It was very embarrassing.
Oh, definitely.
All right.
We'll get that, I'll do that for you, Deal.
Okay.
You got what I mean?
Well, as long as you send us an email so we know it's done.
Yeah.
Okay, of the other items that different individuals have responsibility for in unfinished business, is there anything that needs to come before the trustees? Any action?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right, then, our next regular meeting will be at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, April 12th. I can tell you right now, we will have a change in the fire service agreement with the city of Amherst. I do have a need for a short executive session, and I will need you, Kevin. I know it's been a long day for you, but it'll be short. I don't think
Our
there's...
next meeting is April 12th, right?
April 12th, 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And between now and April 12th, unless you need something, Kevin, I don't see a need for a work session. Okay. And just let me know. We can always call one and post it if we need to do that. I think our focus is going to be get more information on what Commissioner Moore sent out and find out, hey, has the Board of Commissioners already taken some action on this, or is this something he's leading right now? And that, again, I just don't know. And I don't think, Remy, there's no need for you to be at the executive session, so it's up to you if you want to take off. Okay? If you want to stay, you're welcome to stay too.
I'm out.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to make a motion to enter into an executive session. This is legal, so let me get the right one, Chris.
Okay?
For ORC Section 121.22 for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject to pending or imminent court action.
Gotcha.
So it's 121.22G3.
I'll second that motion.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we return to regular session from executive session at 8:48 p.m.
I'll second that motion.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Okay, is there any other business?
Nothing at this
Okay,
time.
then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.